handing it over to you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So what's one shot that you're proud of that almost didn't happen, and why?
Oh, goodness. One shot that almost didn't happen. The luckiest I've ever been on a shoot was on a music video. This was, this was many years ago, but I've never been so lucky. And I can never forget this. So the music video is called God Bless Our Souls. The artist's name is Morgan Saint. We were shooting in Long Island, New York, on a beach. And the director and I envisioned this Eastern European style, foggy, overcast day that we wanted, which of course you can never count on and rely on. But we were really hoping that that's what we would get. And we checked the forecast. It was supposed to be cloudy. What we didn't expect is when we woke up that morning, it was about 6 a.m., we got in the passenger van in Manhattan, and it was foggy. And it's almost never foggy in New York. But all of Brooklyn was covered in fog. And we're looking out the pass van, and we didn't want to say anything to each other because we didn't want to jinx it. But we're looking at each other thinking, please be foggy in Long Island. We get to the beach, and it's covered in fog. You can't see 15 feet in front of you. And it was perfect. It's the most beautiful, like Tarkovsky-like atmosphere you could possibly want. Like it looked like that film Leviathan. Like it was exactly what we wanted. It was better than we could ever want. It was the perfect atmosphere for this video. And we were going to shoot all day. We were going to shoot all the way until evening. So now the question becomes, will we get fog all day? And we had prepared fog machines for a couple of scenes that took place in a foresty area that we could control. But of course, out on the beach, you can't control a fog machine because it's too big an area. And that fog just stayed there all day. And the video looks amazing. And it wouldn't have looked that way without the fog. I mean, it would have maybe been overcast or gloomy or cloudy, and we could have graded it a little bit, but we would have never gotten that look. And we got so lucky, and it just makes the look of the video. And
it's the shot where you see the people with
the umbrellas.
Yeah, this is a beautiful shot. Yeah,
that fog remained all the way until blue hour, and so we got this blue hour foggy look that I've never experienced, where you could barely see the ocean. You're on the beach, and you could barely see 20 feet in front of you. It was just beautiful, and it really hung there all day long. And we didn't acknowledge it at all until after wrap, and we got in the van, and then we finally looked at each other and said, "That was crazy. How did we get that lucky? It was incredible. Wow. This was a gift from some higher power that just blessed us for that video, and only that video." I've been lucky since, but nothing like that.
So I want to talk about your start of your career.
Yes.
How did that happen? And were you always planning on being a DP, or how did that happen?
Well, I was always interested in visual arts. And ever since I was a small kid, I was always drawing. Since I was 3 years old, you couldn't stop me from drawing. You couldn't get a pencil out of my hand, or a marker, or chalk, or crayons, or whatever it was. And I was always drawing pictures and paintings and images, and from a very, very young age. And originally, I wanted to be a painter, and I pursued visual arts and fine arts and painting into elementary school and middle school. And I even went to an arts middle school where I focused on fine arts and painting and visual arts and sculpting.
And what city are you from?
I grew up in Haifa in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And I was very lucky to have that opportunity to really pursue art. And my parents were very encouraging, which is very lucky. And films were always there. I loved movies just as a kid, as a viewer. But I never really connected the two. I never saw movies as something you could make. Mm-hmm. It was always just something that I liked as a fan, as a viewer, as someone who enjoyed, as a nerd. And I liked all the nerdy movies. I was a Star Wars kid, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. And a very imaginative kid. Me and my friends would always, come up with all sorts of scenarios in the backyard, like Star Wars reenactments or coming up with a sequel to Jurassic Park before there were sequels to Jurassic Park. Like we would make up our own and come up with the characters and design a new park or build something out of Legos or whatever it was. So there was a lot of imagination going on in my childhood, but it never, I never made the connection that movies were something you could make until a little bit later, and it was really thanks to DVDs. Like I think that DVDs came out and became popular kind of in the late 90s and the early 2000s, which is right around when I started middle school. It was right around when I became old enough to be aware of filmmaking as a craft and to start to become interested in it and to start watching not just movies but the behind the scenes on the DVDs and be interested in the craft and the filmmaking process and to get interested in it not just as a viewer but also to understand it as an art form and to start to make the connection between my interest in art and making art and my love of movies. And so around that time, this same group of friends, we started making movies with my dad's video camera, that we were just using to film family holidays and things like that. So it was very low quality. And we didn't know how to edit. Mm-hmm. So we would edit in camera. Like we would shoot one shot and then cut and then turn around and shoot the reverse and then cut and then turn back around and shoot the reverse, so that when you rewound the tape and played, you would play the whole sequence in order because we didn't have a way to download footage on our computer.
I've heard Coen brothers grew up doing the same thing because they couldn't edit. They had to do
we just did it on the tape.
What a great school,
I know.
To understand editing and how gonna cut together.
Yeah, exactly. And of course the cuts are very rough and there's too much space at the head and tail of the shot, and it's very, very, very rudimentary, but people are so lucky these days that they have all these tools. We were just it was so basic, but yeah, it really was a great way to learn. And I was just soaking up so much from the behind the scenes of all these movies. Like it was such a gift. I mean, the Lord of the Rings box set, I think, was really definitive. And I'm not the only person to say this, is not an original observation. I think for a lot of people in my generation, that's a very formative text of something that came out, and it's so comprehensive and it covers every possible angle of filmmaking.
And it was so revolutionary, all this new tech and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, but for me, it was the first time really learning about any of it, learning about any part of the filmmaking process. Like, I think that was the first time I even heard the word cinematographer was probably on those DVDs. I'd never encountered the term before. And then there's a whole, 2-hour-long section about the cinematography of the films. And I'm like, what's this? What is cinematography? Oh, it's the visual art component of filmmaking. It's the composition, it's the framing, it's the lighting, it's color, it's like all this stuff that I was learning in painting and visuals and fine art, but on the screen, in movies, in this other art form that I loved. So it was really around then that I wanted to kind of pursue that and started becoming interested in it. So once again, I found myself with very lucky circumstances that in high school, we had a filmmaking class. And again, this was very rudimentary, and this is in the mid-2000s. So we had a VHS camera. And in senior year, you had access to the one single mini DV camera that the school had, the Holy Grail. And it was like a Canon XL, whatever it was. It wasn't a great camera, but it was the best that we had, and it was very special at the time. And we just that was my first film school, really, learning how to make short films and music videos and things. And again, they were very, very basic, but we had Final Cut 3 or whatever it was, and were able to download footage and learn how to edit. And it was really the first exposure to real filmmaking.
And what were your stepping stones to the DP path on set? Were you taking any other positions on set before you actually become DP?
I mean, I was really shooting at that time. I mean, I even then, I sort of I considered myself I was deluding myself, I think, into
everyone
being.
did. Everyone did.
Yeah, it was my really close friend at the time and I were co-directing everything we made, but he was talking to the actors and I was directing the camera. I was composing the shots and doing the lighting and everything. So I was really just being the DP, but I was telling myself that this was directing and all that because I think I was just naive. I mean, I didn't really understand the roles. And again, I mean, we're making films. We're in high school. We're 16. So it's just like 5 of us on set anyway. So everybody's doing a little bit of everything. But, it wasn't a professional environment. And it wasn't until I went to NYU Tisch, like a real film school for college, that things became a little bit more organized, structured. And I think that's when I started professionally pursuing cinematography, and really studying it as a craft and pursuing it as a professional career, shooting student films, and interning on professional shoots. It was my first time on a professional film shoot in New York City as a camera PA, and interning and getting exposed to that world and really seeing how a movie is made and understanding what the role is and what it entails and deciding that actually this is what I want to do and this is what I want to be.
Did you have to take AC jobs, camera operating jobs before that?
Yeah. I did a lot of camera department work during and after film school, for sure.
To get connected, to get to know people around.
Exactly.
Production,
yeah. I mean, the way NYU works is really great because so everybody's constantly making student films. There's 250 kids in each grade. So there's over 1,000 people at the school at any given time, and almost everybody's making a film at all the time. So every weekend there's dozens of short films being made at the higher level classes, and they bring up freshmen and sophomores from the first and second years to come and work on their films. So if you're interested in learning how to work on crew and get that exposure, you can go work on senior level films as soon as you arrive at school. So as soon as I arrived, I started working as a second AC and eventually a first AC on senior level student films. And then when those kids graduate, they can start hiring you on professional shoots. I mean, it's still like entry level professional shoots right out of school. So it's not very high end stuff, but still it's really good real world exposure. And it helps create a bit of a landing pad for when you graduate and start working in the professional world. So it was a really good transition.
So I suppose school is mine, because I didn't go to film school, unfortunately.
Well,
maybe not.
There's good reasons to go and good reasons not to go. So
but I suppose the film school helps a lot in terms of connection, to get this in the doorway of other people in productions, So because the school helps you to connect with other industry professionals, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think more than anything, it really just gave me a lot of experience. And there's a way to get that experience without those connections. But I can't, like I mentioned before, I mean, I moved here from 8,000 miles away and I had no connections to anybody. I didn't know anybody in the industry. I had no idea how anything worked. So, moving here like that, I think I just really needed the structure, to learn and to ease into it like that and to meet people who were like-minded. So in that regard, it was great. But I did grip on 1 or 2 student films, and I was just very bad at it. I'm not a good grip, as I learned. I'm too meticulous. So I think I just gravitated towards the camera department because meticulousness is an asset in the camera department and a crutch in the grip department. It's not very good. In grip, you need to work fast and hard and rough, and that was not me. So I was like, let other people do this. Even though when I talk to other cinematographers, up and coming cinematographers, I recommend that they work in the lighting department if they can. It's a much better way to learn cinematography through lighting, because you don't really learn any cinematography in the camera department. You're just learning about cameras and lenses, which you can learn on, you can figure out on your own. But lighting, you really need to learn and know as a cinematographer. So it's better to work for a gaffer than for an AC. But
what movies the most influenced you when you already were conscious of cinematography as a job and as a craft? What was...
In high school, that was when I really started getting into cinema, and graduated from, not that Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all that is not cinema, because I still love those films and they're brilliant and classics, and Spielberg is still, I would say, my favorite director and very influential. But, it was great to be able to discover Paul Thomas Anderson and Martin Scorsese and Kubrick and Tarkovsky and world cinema and Fellini and Kurosawa and all of those directors kind of in high school, and dig into that work, because it really broadened the scope of what cinematography was and could be. I think that was really, really instrumental in kind of defining what my taste was. And also there were certain films that came out at that time that I think I still point to as my favorite films cinematographically, and also just in general. Like Children of Men came out in, I think, my senior year of high school, and I still think that's just one of the most influential films on me, and also just one of my favorite films visually and just as a movie. So that film and a lot of the films that came out in that period, I think, were just very influential. Like the year after that was There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men, The Assassination of Jesse James. Like all those films I think are very, very influential and powerful. But, going back before that, even like Blade Runner, Alien, I think is the biggest influence. I mean, even just Star Wars, the OG, but Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
that's the influential one. The first one still looks a little hokey, and as much as I love the first Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back is the one that really digs deep visually.
Have you seen, by the way, the One Battle After Another?
Oh yeah, I've seen it twice.
So good. I was watching this like, it's been a long time since we had a movie like this.
It has. Yeah. He did it again.
He did it again.
I don't know how he does it.
What a great talent. Yeah.
It's an incredible movie.
Yeah. I loved every aspect of it, like the directions, the cast, the writing of it. Even the cinematography is so interesting, it's not the usual approach, like more like I think old school way, something like this.
It is. Yeah, but it also feels very modern at the same time, and very vital and propulsive. And what format did you see it in?
Dolby Vision.
Oh, cool. Okay. If people can, it's probably going to be a little too late by the time this comes out, but hopefully they'll re-release it. The IMAX 70.
Yeah, I saw it was showing on the Universal, but all the tickets were sold out.
I know it's sold out, but usually when that happens, they do a re-release.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
This sequence at the end where they go on the road with a long lens.
Yeah.
Something about it, just you look at it and I was like, wow.
It's incredible because it's so rare these days to see something in a movie that you've never seen before. Yeah. It's so rare because everything feels derivative of everything that's come before it. Not in a bad way. It's just, there's only so many ways to shoot something or to stage something. And everybody's influenced by everybody else. And that's just normal. That's just how, movies go. It's an art form that's been around for over 100 years, and it's self-referential and self-influential like any art form. Yeah. And then here you go. It's a scene, a car chase, and done in a way we've never seen before. And that's so refreshing. It's like unbelievable to see something like that these days.
So I want to know about, and probably many people who's going to be watching this, we want to know about how did you meet Greig Fraser and how did that happen that he trusted you to co-DP the film. And I suppose he wasn't on set, so you pretty much done all the work. And how, tell me more about how did it happen? How did he trust you with such a project? Because I think it's the biggest breakthrough for you in your career, right? Tell me more about that.
I mean, honestly, I met Greg the way anybody would meet anybody. It's just a random,
Because there are some like debates, like was he a mentor for you, or how did like?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we met at an event many years ago, and just struck up a conversation, just chatting. This was before most people knew who he was, but I was a fan for a long time. I've been a fan of his work since I think I became aware of him around Killing Them Softly and Zero Dark 30, which were in the same year. But before that, he had done Bright Star and Let Me In, which were both really incredible movies. And I had seen those as well. So those were kind of his early breakout films. So I knew who he was. And I met him shortly after that. It was probably around just before Lion came out. This was after Foxcatcher, which is also an incredible film. So I knew who he was, but this was before Rogue One and before Dune and before any of the, the stuff that he's known for. And I really loved his work.
Yeah.
I just thought he was one of the best DPs working at that time, and still do. But there was something about his stuff even back then that I just thought was really resonated with me visually and was really influential. So when I saw that he was going to be at this thing and that he was there, I just started a conversation, just chatted. So, the lesson from that is talk to people.
So is that like how did that happen? That you get a call one day and say, "Can you? I'm busy on another movie.
Well,
Can you just?"
yes. So after that conversation, we did develop a relationship and had worked together before.
So you worked before, yeah.
Yes. So this was not the first time we'd worked together, but this was the biggest opportunity to work together, the biggest call after a few years of kind of working together on and off on smaller projects.
Yeah. At the same time, I have a tremendous respect for him, because I'm pretty sure, like, not to be offensive, but there are many other DPs he could have chosen.
Yeah,
but
there are.
He decided to give a chance to a new talent, basically.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Well, to be very frank and straightforward about how it all went down is, at the end of the day, it was Gareth Edwards' choice, the director, because as far as I know, multiple options were presented to Gareth as, well, here's a few potential cinematographers who could fill this role. And the role is difficult. The role is not glamorous. The role is, the assignment is, here's a position in which you're required to step in and be a co-cinematographer on paper, and in practice be a curator. And because the cinematographer role on this film is not your typical cinematographer role, because of how hands-on Gareth was as a director. And the way that he wanted to approach this film, and the way we did approach this film, was he wanted to approach it like a documentary, right? So in the ideal version of the way that he wanted to shoot the film, he didn't want to light anything at all. He wanted to drive around to real locations and hop out of a pass van with the camera and put actors in a real location and just film them like a documentary. And obviously you can't fully do that, because sometimes you hop out in a location and it doesn't look great.
Yeah.
So you need to do a little bit of work to shape it and curate the light, and maybe turn off a light here and there, or maybe add a light here and there. So that was my job, was to
find a way to make it look good.
To make it look a little bit more curated, to curate the natural light a little bit. And then as the film evolved, the realities of the conditions present themselves. Oh, this location fell through, so now we have to build it on a stage. So now we're not just curating the light on a real location, we have to recreate the lighting at a location. So now the job is a little more complicated. And the light in this location just is bad overall. It just isn't good. So we have to relight it from scratch. And but the light in this location is great. We don't have to do anything. We just have to turn off some bulbs. So it really depended on where we were shooting, when, what time, what the conditions of the location were. But that was what Gareth needed. It was not your traditional cinematographer role where it was like, we need to really take whole control of the entire thing and create a visual look. He had the visual look. He knew what he wanted the film to look like. He's operating the camera. He's in control of what the camera is pointing at. There's one lens that was already selected. The camera was already selected. Like, all of this work had already been done. So as a cinematographer stepping into this, it's challenging because you don't have a lot of authorship. And you're being asked to kind of step into a collaboration that's already established and where a lot of the decisions have already been made, and asked to trust in that existing collaboration and trust in this artistry. And then in return, a lot of trust is being asked of you, that the things that you're being asked to do this curation and so forth, that you'll be able to deliver, right? Now, we had a lot of prep. I mean, this isn't just improv. Like, we had 4 months of visiting all these locations and deciding and determining what we needed to do in each one. And all of that was in active conversation with Greig and Gareth all through prep, right? So, and obviously with our gaffer as well, Pitai, like, all of this was a huge group effort. But anyway, to take this all back, Gareth saw my work. So at the end of the day, it was his decision, and he saw my website and my work, and I think just responded to what he saw. And my work's been influenced by Greig's work over the years, and I think he saw similar sensibilities and similar taste, which I think isn't surprising ultimately because of that. And I think he saw that we had similar taste, and that ultimately is all what he needed. Is he needed somebody who would have similar taste, because he needed somebody who he could trust to make lighting decisions that would, curate and shape a location and make lighting adjustments that he would then, be able to point the camera at and go, oh yeah, I like this. This is exactly what I would have done, or how I would have liked this location to look like.
I think, and I don't know if you would agree, but I feel like in a way he went with you because in a way he felt that you're going to be more flexible than if he would go with someone more established, because they would probably command in more in terms of how it should be done and stuff like that. And he probably wanted this approach, and he wanted just to have someone who can support and be happy to do whatever they need to do in order to accomplish that, because he didn't want this argument in terms of proving why this should be done this way or the other way, right?
Well, that was a big part of it, and that was a big part of our early conversations, was like, this is what we need from this collaboration. Is we need somebody to come in and not you have to reject every instinct that you have as a cinematographer who comes into this position, typically as somebody who needs to, often when you're working with less experienced directors and so on, it's not something you do out of ego or malice or anything. It's just something that you do out of responsibility, because often the cinematographer is more experienced than the director. We work on many sets in a year. And then often a director, even if they've directed more than one film, they will have been on, maybe 3 sets in their life if they've directed 3 films. Or if they're lucky, if they've done another role on set, maybe they've been on 10 sets. But cinematographers, especially, I work in commercials as well. So, I've been on hundreds of sets at this point. So we just have more experience. And so when you step into a situation where you're working with a director, you're just almost often by default more experienced. Often that dynamic is one where you feel a responsibility to take care of the director and to take things off of their plate and to say, let me take care of all of these things. Don't worry about the lenses. Don't worry about the technical stuff. Don't worry about, I'll take care of all of this. I'll take care of the technical. Let me work with the AD on scheduling. Let me work with, that's typically what we do. And again, like I said before, it's not out of ego or control. It's out of attempting to protect the director, right, and to let them have as much time as they can with their actors or with their writing or with their process or whatever. That was what this project was like. Greg, when we were talking, was saying, forget all of that, because that's not what Gareth needs from the DP. He wants to and is going to do all of that stuff and has done most of it already. He is in charge of the schedule with the AD. He doesn't need you to do it. He doesn't need you to take care of the lenses. He wants to do it. He's already picked the lens. He's going to operate the camera. He's going to decide what's in frame. So everything that you typically do as a DP is not what he needs. He needs a collaborator that he can lean on when he needs you. And as Greg said, and this was the thing, he said this very early on, it was very prescient. He said there's going to be days on the set where Gareth isn't going to talk to you at all. And it's like you're going to be shooting a day exterior and you're not going to have anything to do. And
so Craig went through this already, so he was sharing this. Yeah,
he did, because he went through this on Rogue One.
Was Gareth also operating when he was filming with Craig?
On Rogue One.
On Rogue One, he was also operating.
He operated on a lot of that film, not all of it, but a lot of it. And so there were instances where this happened, and so that's where he was pulling this from. And again, this is just how a great lesson. This whole thing was an amazing lesson in. Every director needs something different from a DP. And that was so valuable to me to learn, because it changed my whole mentality and approach to the whole thing, where I really grew to understand exactly that point, that my job is to be there for the director in whatever way they need. And some directors need a lot of help and a lot of support and rely on you a lot, and others need something different from you. And our job is to fill whatever gap they need, and to be whatever type of DP they want and they need, and to be happy to provide whatever. I really believe that. I really strongly believe that.
And how was Craig's involvement in that, in terms of how did you probably discuss the look of it, or you jumped on the project when the look was already established, or how did that happen? Those conversations.
We all, I mean, the look was kind of established, but mostly by Gareth. Again, he just knew what movie he wanted to make, and he has it all in his head. But he also pulls thousands of reference images. He pulls so many reference images. So, and we went through all of them. And I pulled some extra ones. Greg pulled some extra ones. And then we just went through all of them together and discussed, all three of us, this was all on Zoom, discussed what we liked, to try and understand, mostly for him and I to understand what Gareth liked. What do you like about this image? Is it the composition? Is it the lighting? Is it the colors? Is it the contrast ratio? So that when we have to create a lighting environment or a lighting scenario, we can understand what it is that he likes, so that we can know what to recreate. So that was a really great process of just kind of mining his brain a little bit, mining his taste. But there was concept art as well that was created for the project that was very clear on kind of what the look and the vision was, which I love. I mean, it's so far the only one that I've done that has had concept art, but it's what a gift, like incredible to have something like that that's just so clear and vivid of just a visualization of what the project would look like. So yeah, a lot of that was kind of already established, but a lot of it also came up through conversation. Honestly, the most instrumental thing was, in order to pitch the film, Gareth went on a 4-month shoot, like a proof of concept shoot by himself. Well, it was him and his producing partner, so it was the two of them. And he shot footage completely, it was entirely documentary footage, fully documentary. Just him and I think it was a Nikon SLR video camera with a gimbal. And he shot in 7 countries in Southeast Asia, most of which we ended up shooting in as well. And he traveled around for 4 months, visited a bunch of locations, many of which we went back to, and cut it into like a 10-minute reel, and then went to Industrial Light and Magic and had them do visual effects on top of the footage. And this was like a proof of concept test reel for the film. But the footage is entirely, there's no narrative, there's no characters in it, it's all documentary footage. And it looks like, if anyone's familiar with the film Baraka, which is like it's like a National Geographic style kind of travelogue documentary, but it's very stylized, very cinematic. It's like that, but with science fiction added to it. And that footage was like our North Star the whole time. That was, we were like, if we can make the movie look like that, that's the goal. But of course, the trick there was that footage was cultivated from 4 months of shooting, cut down to 10 minutes of the very, very, very best stuff. And, there's hours of footage that was thrown away that wasn't good. So, and we didn't have that luxury. Of course, all of the stuff we shot needed to be higher, pretty good quality because they needed to be able to use it all in the edit. So ours needed to be a little bit more curated than the documentary stuff. But it looked that footage looked incredible, and I always thought or wished or hoped that they would put that on the DVD, and I don't think they did, or I don't think they ever released it. But there's like clips of it on the behind the scenes documentary, but there's only a few little snippets, and it's too bad because the full 10-minute thing is so cool and I look so good. But yeah.
Was it a single camera approach on that film, or you had multicam as well?
Mostly single camera. We played a second camera for certain action scenes, and I would operate the second camera. Mostly just handheld. Sometimes also we would simultaneously shoot one of the cameras on the gimbal, which was mostly how it was set up, and then another camera would be on the drone. So we'd be getting a drone shot and a gimbal shot on the ground at the same time. So sometimes we would do that.
I remember you told me that the configuration of the camera setup was a little bit unusual because you had a gimbal on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about this approach, why, and how does that work?
Yeah, the idea behind that, which is so funny, so many people have like kind of recreated this rig or tried to recreate it, and or kind of made versions of it, like a prefabricated version. And then the funniest thing is that a year later or whatever, the DJI came out with the Ronin 4D.
So the DJI wasn't available then?
No, that wasn't available.
Yeah.
But that camera is essentially what we like made. We built a Frankenstein version of what they ended up just making into a camera. But the concept was we wanted to have a camera on a gimbal that you could operate for hours. Because the problem with putting a camera on a gimbal is you can only hold it in your arms for about 10 minutes before you get tired. So the idea was, okay, well, what if the camera is on a gimbal, but then that gimbal is on a shoulder mount? So you could put the whole thing on your shoulder, and then you can operate on your shoulder for hours and hours. The whole thing's pretty light. So that was the start. But then the question was, okay, so once it's on your shoulder, now what if I want to take it off my shoulder and get a shot at hip level and put it on like a cine saddle? And what if I want to do it quickly? Like, what if I want to go from my shoulder down to here? So then that's how the Frankenstein started, because we had to start adding handles and stuff in different places to be able to quickly go from this to grab it from the top and to go to this. And then if you want to go low angle, so then you had to add another handle so that you could then quickly drop it down to this height. And there's just handles everywhere. And then that became what we called the octopus rig, because there was just handles everywhere, and it just looked like it had a bunch of arms sticking out of it. But that was the idea, essentially.
Do you think you would go with Ronin 4D if it was available back then?
I think they would have tested it. And I don't know. I mean, I know the FX3 was already selected before I came on board.
And were you surprised, or what was your...
I was in it, yes, but I just wasn't familiar with...
Okay, so you weren't... You weren't
I didn't know Sony's game. I wasn't familiar with what that camera could do beforehand. But as soon as
they present you that we're going to shoot on this camera, and you're like, what?
Yes, but then I went with Greg and Gareth to Photochem to see the test footage.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. Okay.
Was it Greg's idea or Gareth?
They, I think it was a joint idea. They went to NAB, I think, or Cinegear the year before. We're looking for small cameras.
Yeah.
And found the FX3. And I think it was Gareth's idea, but Greg had been doing some testing with it. Like he shot some commercials on it to test it. And they had all this test footage at Photochem.
Yeah. You know, it's when that movie came out and everyone was talking about it was shot on FX3, I was like rooting so much because I like that the big budget film proved that camera doesn't really matter, you know?
Yes.
Because it's all about the craft that we do behind the scenes, not the camera. Because there is a misconception going on that the camera does all the hard work for you and stuff like that. And then I was like, this is the proof that you don't need to have a fancy camera to get cool stuff, you know?
I know, and I feel like we're still having that argument years later, you know, and it's like I thought
there are still some people that say Red is bad camera, you have to shoot on Ari or something like that.
And I was like I thought we buried this conversation, you know, and there's all these new ones that come out now. Like if you made the movie now, you know, there's this new Nikon that came out,
$2,200. I was like,
and it's even smaller and lighter than the FX3, so you know,
and
probably would have tried that.
Built-in RAW recorder,
internal RAW, so you don't even need the external recorder. So that would have been one to try. And the Ronin 4D I think would have been worth testing to see. I mean, the issue with it, of course, is that it's not configurable. It's built in the way that it is.
It is actually, if you detach.
Oh, that's true. You can detach, but that came later.
Yeah.
That was a newer.
It was a year later.
But true, if you tested cameras that are available now, absolutely, that would be something to look at for sure. So we'd look at that, and there have been movies that shot on the Ronin 4D and shows, Emmy-winning shows, that shot on it.
Yeah.
So you know, and it looks great.
Yep.
So. That would be something to consider.
I think these days, honestly, every camera that comes out these days is good enough to get whatever you need.
This is the thing. It's actually really funny to me that this is still a debate. If you expose normally, every camera is capable. You know, the issues where you run into challenges is if you in extreme over or extreme underexposure. So, which is fine. That's fair. There are places where the cameras break.
Or extreme dynamic range.
Exactly, and that's where you kind of run into it. But even with it, like a normal dynamic range scenario, like just an average day, or even, we shot on the FX3 at dusk and twilight and bright day and hard light and all that, and we didn't run into any issues with the dynamic range. Because it has 15 stops of exposure in RAW. So the dynamic range isn't an issue if you expose it correctly. It's an issue if you mess up the exposure and then you're trying to extract something out of it where there isn't data, but with the Alexa 35, you can underexpose it by 7 stops and still pull information out. That's where you see the difference in the cameras.
Alexa 35 is ridiculous. You're trying to overexpose on purpose, and it just doesn't work.
Exactly. So that's where you see the difference in the cameras, and that's fine. And it's like there's different tools for different things, and the other limitations. The main limitations with these cameras is the frame rates. I mean, the FX3 doesn't really have slow-mo. You know, it has like you can do 48 frames or 60 frames, and it doesn't.
You can do 120, no?
Maybe now it can, but at the time it couldn't. You know, those cameras do this weird thing where they don't.
I think you can't do 120 if you do RAW external.
Yes, there's some limitations there, and also it when you do the slow mo, it like records it changes the project frame rate, so it does 60 frames, but then the project is at 60. So then you have to do this conversion to get it.
Yeah, that's the Sony thing, They for some reason basic things that's supposed to be simple.
But these cameras aren't designed for that stuff. So no, there's no slow-mo in the movie. There isn't a single slow-mo shot. The whole movie is at 24 frames. So if you don't need to, if you don't need the limitation, then you're fine. So that's the thing with these cameras.
When I was starting out, I remember there was a big difference between different cameras because some have 8-bit recording, some have 10, some have 12, some have dynamic range, some have log, no log. That was the issue. But right now, every camera does at least 10-bit log.
Exactly.
Pretty much every camera you can overexpose at least by 3 stops. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What kind of job you have to do to overexpose by 3 stops?
Yeah, so exactly. And if it's exposed properly and you're lighting it and filming something interesting, you can use anything. These days.
So you mentioned you were using external recording.
Yeah.
Was it something like Atomos?
Yeah, it was the Atomos.
And then was Apple ProRes RAW?
ProRes RAW. Yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right now, DaVinci finally works with Apple ProRes.
I know that would have been helpful because I think they had to convert it to Cinema DNG or something.
It's been so long, but finally we have it. So
I thought they never would. I thought this was like a blood rivalry or something that they would never get over.
I think because right now they tied so well with the iPhones, with their accessories and Apple Vision.
Yeah,
they make all the cameras and stuff.
That's right, and they have the app and everything.
Yeah, right now so many Apple shows, Apple Plus shows, they shoot on Blackmagic cameras, which is also interesting,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is a show, my friend works on a show, Shrinking.
Yeah.
And the first season they did on the Mini LF.
Yeah.
And then I see the second and the third season, they switch completely on the Blackmagic 12K LF. I was like, wow, that's a big switch, And I was wondering, why did that happen? And then clicked in my mind because Apple is so tight with the Blackmagic right now, so probably there wasn't too much convincing happening,
I didn't realize that. Yeah, it's so interesting.
I have a tremendous respect what Blackmagic does because creating new technologies, new sensors, it's very cool stuff.
It is, yeah.
I
haven't really used their stuff. Maybe I should.
Yeah, and this the
creature of habit.
Yeah. Well, let's see Craig testing the new one, the 17K.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to see this somewhere soon.
Sure, it'll pop up in something, yeah.
Well, you were testing this new camera, the Fujifilm.
Yeah, I shot a short film with it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful short film, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw whatever was posted.
Yes, the whole thing. We haven't released the whole film because we're doing a film festival run.
But whatever was posted, it was beautiful,
Thank you.
And what do you think about that camera, since we're talking about it?
Same thing, I just think the sensor's beautiful. And unique in its size. Mm-hmm. It's the tallest sensor out there in a digital camera. And so it creates a really unique image when you combine it with the right lenses. Mm-hmm. Actually, talking about one battle after another, it's, the imagery in that film reminded me of the kind of images you can create with that sensor when combined with the right lenses, because it has that kind of medium format look. The very shallow depth of field, and it feels.
They shot on VistaVision, yeah.
They shot on VistaVision, yeah. So you get that kind of larger canvas look, and it's very sharp. So I just thought it was beautiful, and Fuji are also very known for their color science, and all of that's in there. So the combination of those two things, I just thought it was gorgeous. And talking about this, it's funny because a lot of the reaction online is very similar. It's like people kind of pixel peeping about the specs of the camera and this and 10-bit and the refresh rate and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't really notice any of that.
Yeah.
What did it look like? What image could I get out of it? I thought a pretty good one. Yeah. And it held up in the color grade really well. We only shot log too. We shot the internal ProRes, the F-log, but you can record raw.
Yeah, ProRes RAW, yeah.
Yeah, it's external for now.
Okay.
I'm sure that at some point they'll do an internal. All of these cameras started, even the Venice originally had to record external RAW, and eventually they
I remember
put it internal. So it's the first one.
I remember I almost started my career with. I mean, of course, I started like everyone with the 5D Mark II.
Yes, yeah. I had the T2i.
Yeah. Okay.
And I couldn't afford the 5D.
Yeah, I remember I had 7D and the 5D, and with all this magic lantern stuff, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
remember those.
then my next camera was Sony FS700, and that's pretty old camera, you know. And interesting enough, it doesn't really do much when you do internally. It's 8-bit and it looks awful, you know. But when you send externally, then you get 12-bit RAW,
Right.
and then it opens up such a beautiful opportunities on that camera. And I remember I used that camera. I squeezed every ounce of like whatever it's possible to do, you know. I remember I was capable of making images from that camera so good. I was like, wow. And then even right now when I revisit some of the footage from that camera, I'm surprised how good it was when you actually send it externally, you know?
Right.
Because all the color science changes and it looks so good. But you had to use the external recording,
Right.
so I'm really familiar with that. And I remember I was always blaming Sony's that they had to use this AS.
Yeah, the AXS
recording. I was like, oh, it's making so big. Finally, the second version of that.
Exactly.
Okay, also wanted to ask you about the creator in terms of how big was the crew? You know, because it feels like you were very nimble.
Yeah.
And it's I'd love to find out like who did you have? You have like a gaffer, grip. How was your like skeleton crew?
Yeah, we kept it really small on purpose.
Yeah.
And for that reason, we wanted to keep it nimble. So the core crew was our gaffer, Pitai, and we had 4 electrics. So it was 5 total in the electric department.
And was it new team that you haven't worked before?
Oh yeah, it was an entirely Thai-based crew. They're based in Thailand, so I hadn't met any of them or worked with them before, but they were incredible. Pitai actually put together, most of the electrics were DPs. They're all young Thai cinematographers, so it's like he kind of put together the like Avengers of young Thai cinematographers. They were all amazing, super talented. And Pitai himself is a cinematographer who kind of took a break from cinematography to work on. Prior to the creator, he worked on the electric team for Killers of the Flower Moon. And then he came on and gaffed this film and brought on as his best electric this woman named Nancy, who actually is based in Oklahoma, who also worked on Killers of the Flower Moon, and called her up and said, hey, you want to come to Thailand for 4 months? And she said, sure. Just came out and worked on this Thai film with a whole entirely Thai crew. Didn't speak a word of Thai. And just lived and worked with us for 4 months. So she was amazing. On the grip side, we had 4 people. So our key grip, O, and 3 grips, which was very small. Now the grip department in Thailand works differently. It's like the British method. So the grips only do camera support. They don't do anything with lighting. So they don't do rags, diffusion frames, light stands. The lighting team handles any grip support for lights. So the grips only do dollies, cranes, etc. Right? So we carried only 3 pieces of camera support kit. So this small crew only had a very limited amount of equipment to carry, but we used it all the time. So they were just constantly running around with this stuff. We had a little Kessler slider dolly it's a modular system, so you can extend it to 20 feet, but or just have it. We usually had it around 6 feet, so it's basically like it looks like a Dana dolly essentially. So that was our main dolly. Because the camera's so small, we didn't need a full-size dolly. And we had a little mini jib on that the camera was always built on. GF, Grip Factory Munich. It's a mini jib. Then we had a scissor crane. It was an 18-foot scissor crane. That was our main crane arm.
Yeah, I think I saw that,
Yeah. So that could be carried by 2 people and just, You just plunk it down on a tripod base, and that's that. And that was basically it. And then we day played a Grip Factory jib arm, like a bigger jib arm that I think was a 30-foot for days where we needed a bigger arm. So that was our core crew. On days where we needed more, we expanded. And Greg likened, his metaphor was that our crew was like a balloon. So the default was that it was deflated. You know, that was our lean, mean default, was like the small version. But when we needed to, we could inflate the balloon and add crew when we were shooting on stage, which sometimes we had about 2 or 3 weeks in Thailand on the soundstage. So we needed way more people to do pre-lights and light, green screens and light sets. We had night exteriors where we had condors and kind of bigger lighting setup, so we added more electrics. We had some days where we had car work, where we had pursuit vehicles and black arms and other rigging situations. So we had more grips on those days. But it was really just a case-by-case basis. And there were days where we added crew, and there were days where it was just the core 9. Right. And the camera team was also very lean. It was, even though we had multiple camera bodies, that was also part of the advantage of the FX3, was we had, I think we carried 10 of them. And we had each of them kind of pre-configured in a different build so that we could quickly swap them around. But we only had one core camera team. So first AC, his name was A. He was incredible. I don't know how he handled all this. He was so calm the whole time. I had never worked with the FX3 before. Just learned it and dove right in. It was amazing. So we had A, second AC, camera utility, and DIT. And that was it. So the 4 of them handled everything. And on days where we had a second camera, we would bring in an additional focus puller. But that was pretty much it. Nice. And we had a drone team. It was 3 people that operated kind of as their own unit. And we had them on pretty much every day, every exterior. Like, unless we were shooting only interior, we would bring them in to shoot something. Yeah. So yeah, they were on for like half the shoot pretty much.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. I actually want to ask you also a little bit technical question, but when you were shooting with Sony FX3, did you make, you of course you made a lot, but did you make a lot that pulls down maybe a stop to protect the noise
we did.
flows? Yeah,
we did. Yeah.
Okay, that would make sense, because I was thinking, I wonder if they actually did this so they have a little bit of room.
It was mostly actually to give us a little bit of wiggle room in like dusk, because we did a lot of stuff at dusk and blue hour. Yeah. So it was mostly to protect that, because sometimes we were shooting right up to the edge of it. And it was, sometimes you wouldn't see a lot on the monitor.
Because I know that Sony cameras, Sony sensors, they like to be overexposed a little bit so you can pull down.
Yeah. So we did, I think it was a half a stop that was built into it, not a full stop. But we did build half a stop into it. Oh, I should also add that all of this is the Thai crew, but we did do 2 weeks in London at the end of the shoot on sound stages at Pinewood. So we had a whole other unit that was at the end of the shoot. That was in London with a UK crew. And that was much bigger. That was like a traditional shoot, big production. I think that was probably 30 people.
How's it working with the UK crew?
It was great. It's just
different,
very traditional, very by the book.
Did they give you a hard time?
No, they're sweet.
Because sometimes they do.
Yeah. No, they were sweet. It was Greg's crew. He'd worked with them before, so he picks good people who don't give people a hard time.
So what's the idea behind 75 millimeters? Because you said most of the film was shot on 75. Is it like a framework that you actually created those limitations to stay within, or what's the idea behind?
Well, the idea behind
you had like multiple 75.
We had multiple 75s. Yeah. I mean, the focal length itself is just taste. It was just a matter of taste. It's just a focal length Gareth was drawn to. And I'm drawn to it too now. I've been converted by Gareth and Greig. I think it was the focal length they ended up shooting most of Rogue One on that focal length. Like they had a full set of lenses, and then they ended up shooting 85% of the movie on that one focal length. The idea was, well, let's pick a hero focal length. They tested a few, found the 75. And the idea for picking one focal length really is, especially because the camera is almost entirely on a gimbal, rebalancing is a whole to-do. It takes time. And the whole point of the way that this shoot was conceived and set up was so that Gareth could just always be shooting. Pick up the camera and roll and just shoot. So what better way to do that than not have to do lens swaps at all? So that was it.
I like that approach. I like that approach a lot. I had projects where we chose one or two focal length and we would just specifically using them. You know, sometimes it makes you think outside of the box when you have limitations. You know, and you're coming up with some creative ways. But what did you use when you were shooting, establishing wide shots?
We had at the time the Atlas Mercury lenses weren't out yet, but they gave us a prototype of the 42 millimeter Atlas Mercury. So that was our wider focal length.
I love that lens.
Yeah, it's great. We didn't use it a lot, but anytime we needed something, a little bit of a wider field of view.
Although Gareth was operating most of the time, do you like to operate yourself?
Yeah, good question. I'm always torn on the question of operating because I like the hands-on component of operating. I enjoy the reactiveness of it, especially in handheld. You know, sometimes what's really nice about it, and I think this is why Gareth wanted to operate mostly on the Creator, is because there's a lot of cinematography that's intuitive, that is reacting to stuff that's happening in front of you, that's reacting to what the actors are doing and reacting to the environment, reacting to shapes in the space or the architecture or to a performance or whatever it is. And I like being a part of that reaction, and as a cinematographer, I have instinctual reactions to those things. And when I'm not operating, I do sometimes feel like I'm missing that reaction, like I'm watching the operator making those choices and doing those reactions, and I feel like, oh, I would have reacted differently, or I would have done something else, or whatever. Now, when you have a good operator, they're making the same choices you would, and then or better ones, and then you go, oh, that was a great choice, or that was a great reaction. So, but I'm skipping ahead. The other thing that I really like about operating that I think is really important is being close to the actors, and I think that part of it's really crucial. And I do like being the first person they see after a take, because the actors are in a very vulnerable place after a take, and unless you have one of the directors who like to stand next to the camera, which is very rare these days, but I appreciate it when they do that. Mostly directors like to sit by the monitor, which is fine, and I always like to have the monitor as close as possible, but it's not, it's very hard to and rare to have somebody standing right there. So it's cool to be right by the camera, right by the eyepiece, and to have that connection with the actors, and also to build that trust, because sometimes actors can be a little sensitive about the lighting and all that, and being able to build that trust with them can be very crucial and important. So being the first person they see and having that vulnerability and that connection can be really important to building that trust. Here's the flip side of that. When I'm operating, I don't feel like I'm the DP. Like during the operating time, I feel like I'm operating. Because operating is a full-time gig. Like I am focusing entirely on operating the camera. I'm focusing on the edges of frame. I'm focusing on the composition. I'm focusing on, my center. I'm focusing on my camera movements to make sure that if I'm moving the camera, it's timed with a character movement. And if they stop, I stop. Like I'm doing all the operating stuff because I want the operating to feel deliberate and precise and not sloppy. And the operating and the precision of it's important to me. So I'm just fully concentrating on it. And when I'm concentrating on the operating, I'm not looking at the lighting. I'm not looking at the performance. I'm not looking at any of the stuff that I feel like I should be looking at as a DP. And so on films, when I operate, sometimes we cut and then somebody will ask me something like, oh, did you notice this and this or so-and-so? And then I'll go, no, I wasn't paying attention to that. I didn't notice that at all because I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at the corner of the frame. I was looking at this because I'm trying to land the pan in a way to hit this specific end composition, right?
I wonder how does it work with Gareth when he is operating, but also he has to direct and see all the emotions and stuff,
I have no idea how he does it, but I also, honestly, I actually have no idea. I think for him, somehow he manages to compartmentalize the two of them. I think also he cares less about the precision of the operating. And some of the operating is a little sloppy and he's okay with it. And also because it's kind of documentary style, he just lets it be sloppy. Also, the Ninja recorder, the image on it looked really bad. So he couldn't really see very well. Like he could kind of just see shapes and outlines, but he couldn't see a really high fidelity image the way that I could on the monitor, which actually was maybe good. It was almost like he was looking through like a shitty viewfinder and I was seeing like a good image. So he was trusting me to really look at the image and the composition and the framing and the lighting. And he was kind of just like pointing the camera at whatever was happening and hoping that it looked good. So it actually, I think, let him focus on the performance more. But it meant that after a take, he would have to ask me, like, was it framed good? Like, was it good? And I would have to say if it was or wasn't. But mostly it was. But anyway, but yeah, so that's the thing is I find that when I'm not operating, the cinematography is better because I can focus all of the time, both while setting up the shot and while shooting takes. I'm sitting there with the director, watching every take, watching everything in the take, watching the performances, looking at the lighting, looking at everything else, looking at the props. I'm looking at
reading the room. What do they feel about the show, the director, and everything?
Everything, and I feel like it makes everything better. The whole movie. So I prefer not to operate, but I need to have really good operators in order to do that. People that I can really lean on and trust to make it better. And really good operators do that and take that empowerment and run with it and make the shots better. And that is, I think, the best case scenario.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One day I want to ask Steven Soderbergh, how does he do what he does, directing, cinematography, operating, all together. It's
dying to ask him.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Yeah. Like I don't know how he does everything.
Yeah.
I really don't get it.
In one of the podcasts I've heard that he just can't help him, that he needs to be behind the camera,
yeah, I understand why he does it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how he does it, Like how does he manage to compartmentalize it on set and then confidently know that he is getting what he wants, Unless he just really has a lot of trust in everybody else, in his performers, in his gaffer, in his other collaborators, right? That's the only way to do it.
I've done directing and cinematography at the same time on some projects, and I did a action short film a year ago, and I did directing and cinematography because I don't know. Again, like him, I needed this.
It's hard to let go,
But I can tell that I was missing out a lot on how do actors actually perform, because I was focusing more in terms of how the camera moves, how the lighting, all that other, like you said, watching the frame, but not paying too much attention on how did they react. And then I have to go back and watch the playback and make sure that everything worked,
I know that there's a lot of trust. On the creator, I know there's a lot of trust with the actors, They trust that that Gareth is trusting them, and he is trusting them to deliver the performances, and he's not giving them a lot of feedback or direction on the set.
And you had great actors. I mean,
and that's the thing. So a lot of it's the casting and conversations that happen before you're actually rolling the camera. A lot of it also is the way we were shooting was, he would talk to them or give them reactions or tell them to do things or do retakes during a take, because he's operating the camera. So he'll be framed up on a shot and they'll do a take, but then they'll get to the end of a take or end of a line of dialogue, and then he'll say, okay, just reset, do it again, maybe give them a note while still shooting, while still rolling.
Did you do a lot of takes? It's
hard to say because our takes were like 30 minutes long.
Oh.
And you would do multiple takes within a take.
How does that work?
You just keep rolling the camera. And
so they basically have a scene and they do like a theater. They just keep on going.
They keep going, and then Gareth's moving around and just getting many different angles.
It's a very interesting approach.
Yeah, it's very different.
And how do you deal with continuity then? Did you have a script supervisor?
Yeah, and she
was like great hair.
She lost all her hair. No, she was great. She was very calm. They had a very clear conversation from the beginning of what expectations.
Just like with you, just chill down. It's gonna be a different project for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And continuity is overrated anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, Scorsese never cared about
exactly.
And still,
the important things people can keep track of. Actors can keep track of the big picture stuff.
There is a study about that. I don't remember the study, what's it called, but there was a study in terms of what people actually pay attention to.
Yeah.
There is a color, there is an eye, expressions, camera movement, and there is continuity. And continuity actually takes something like 5% or something. That's so small that it's
exactly. So
it's not important at all.
No, she was really mostly keeping track of where certain lines of dialogue or performance stuff were. Like in a take. She was writing down time codes, not so much keeping track of where this prop was or something.
So I suppose Gareth should be really good in understanding how to keep the eye line right. It's like a spatial awareness, right?
Yes.
Because if you operate for 30 minutes, you have to understand how then the reverse shot or whatever is.
Yes, and sometimes that's what I'm there for too.
Yeah, so you can pinpoint if you see something wrong, then.
Yeah, if you're on the wrong side of it, I can be like, you should be on this over this shoulder or whatever, and that's also what she's there for.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
After the creator got Oscar nominations and all these other awards, how did your life change?
In some ways, not much. In other ways, just in a very basic, fundamental way, I'm looking at, in the narrative world, projects that I wouldn't have been before the creator. Before the creator, I was shooting indie features and looking at other indie features. This is my next film.
And now the door is open and they have trust in you.
Yeah, I'm looking at bigger films for my next projects, and I shot a film for A24. Adam Wingard was the director. Lower budget than the creator, but still a studio film with a healthy budget. That was the film I did after. It comes out next year. And so those are the kinds of films I'm looking at now. And before the creator, I would never have a chance to shoot stuff like that. So in that way, things have changed. But those films are still difficult to get, and there's a lot of competition. But I'm in a different league of projects, and it's I'm really fortunate because that's exactly where I wanted to be, and it's it's exactly where I think anyone aspires to get to in the narrative world, to get that foot in that door. And I'm just at the very start of that journey, but I'm on that path, and that's where I would like to be at this stage in my career, and I'm very fortunate to be at this stage in my career.
Do you still do commercials?
Yeah, yeah.
Did your rate went up?
Well,
It should have been, though.
I mean, commercial rate is dictated by many other factors, including just the state of the commercial industry right now, which is what it is. So, the rate, maybe my asking rate went up, but the rate that I'm willing to take is dependent on how much work I need to do in any given month. So it really depends, but yeah, I definitely still do commercials in between films. I don't do enough films to only be able to,
You didn't do them because you reject some of the work, or you didn't get enough inquiries?
I reject films
because you don't want to do what you don't like. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm being selective with what films I do.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, because I want to build a narrative career of films that I'm proud of, and not just proud of, but also just films that I like. Films they take a lot out of you. You really, while you're making a film, you're dedicating all of your free time to making the film for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, however long.
Which is hard when you have a family.
Very much. You're sacrificing during that time. So the sacrifice has to be worth it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's worth it, but it's worth it if it's a film that I care about and believe in, and think will be good, hopefully. So I only really want to work on projects that I believe in, and that I believe in the directors and share taste, and I think will be a good experience, and will make a good film, and will make the kind of film that I would want to watch, because otherwise it's not worth the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And commercials, that is different. Commercials, I'll shoot whatever pays the rate that I'm willing to accept at that moment. Yeah.
Okay. I want to know more about your workflow. Let's say you go to the location to shoot, and or maybe let's say started with scout and then go into the location. Do you have an idea straight away how you're gonna light this, or how is your approach? You're thinking about like where you're gonna place the camera, or you start thinking right away about like where the camera, and how is your process?
Oh yeah. Well, I think it depends on different circumstances, but I would say, generally speaking, I always have ideas. I'll always have initial instinctual ideas in any location. The way I put it is that locations are always speaking to us, and there's always what feels to me like an obvious place to put a camera, and an obvious place to motivate lighting in any given location. And some are more obvious than others. So, for example, if you walk into a room and there's windows on one side of it and some interesting architecture, and then the rest of the room is just blank, flat walls, to me, there's really nowhere else to put the camera and the lighting except one place. Because if you put the camera facing the blank walls, it's going to be flat, and there's no interesting architecture, and there's nowhere interesting to put the lighting. So the only obvious place to stage a scene is facing the windows with light motivated through the windows. It's like, that's it. There's like one option, essentially. So other environments are more complex and maybe provide more opportunities and require a little bit of exploration. Sometimes just walking around with your phone and looking at different angles and exploring. but I always like to let the location
Yeah.
speak and provide up, those ideas. And and I think that's part of the fun, leaning into it and not trying to fight it. And I always try to encourage directors to think about that if they're not, or if they're resistant to it.
What if you have a director who walks to the window and look in the other way? And
Yeah, sometimes people need a little bit of encouragement to think about it the other way, and sometimes you can just show them. I mean, showing always speaks a lot better than telling. And you can just take a picture of the flat wall and take a picture of the window and show them, like, look, doesn't this look more interesting? It doesn't, and worst case scenario, if we need to make the flat wall look good or interesting, we'll make it work, because at the end of the day, it's the director's choice. But yeah, so I think I'll always have instinctual reactions to a location or based on the architecture, the geography of the space, even if it means adding light fixtures or practicals or whatever, if there aren't any in a place that there should be. And then, of course, it's different if you're building a location on or a set, because then you're starting from scratch, and then it's, you can decide where you want to put anything.
But it's still usually the obvious motivation, the windows.
Oh, 100%. The principles are the same, but the difference is that you can design it to your liking. So you're not reacting to something, but you can specify what the best placement of everything is, which sometimes can give you too much power or control. Like, sometimes it's better to try and build a set based on an existing location and kind of forcing a limitation on it, other than trying to design something from scratch, because you have too much freedom. And that freedom gives you too many variables, and having the limitations like that a real location would place on you is nice. Like, and working within those limitations is good. But yeah, I think, and then of course there's other factors like conversations with the director. Is there something in the script? Are there reference images that we've looked at that would factor into where you want to put the camera or the lighting or anything like that? But really, I think mostly it's instinctual. It's just reacting to the space.
So I suppose you, like me, it's a new generation that we grew up with digital. Did you film on actual film, and do you like the process? And tell me more, like digital versus film. What do you prefer?
Yeah. I shot quite a bit of film in film school. We were the last year at NYU to shoot our second year projects on 16mm black and white reversal, and to edit on a flatbed, cutting, splicing, taping. We did it all physically. Great way to learn editing. Way better than rolling and cutting on tape. So it was really cool. And I'm really glad we got that opportunity. And then we shot student projects on Super 16 and on 35. But I haven't done much of it since, honestly, even though it's very trendy these days and a lot of people are shooting film again. I used to shoot stills as well on 35, but I switched to digital a long time ago. And I don't know. I guess I just don't really have the nostalgia for it that other people do.
Same for me. I just don't. I shot a project once on film, and I didn't like the process. I like the aesthetics of it, the way it looks, but I didn't like all this process in terms of you don't know how it turns out, all this weight.
Yeah, I don't
see the preview and stuff.
Exactly. I don't really have a nostalgia for the anxiety or the lack of the unknown of it all, or looking through an optical viewfinder or anything like that. Like, I don't
because some find magic in that, and I was like, I don't know, I enjoy the other things.
Exactly. I don't find a magic in the unknown. I prefer I feel like I make bolder choices and better choices when I see what I'm doing on a monitor. Lighting choices, lens choices, framing choices, more confident choices. And I also am just a big believer, and not just a believer, but I think there's just proof is in the pudding that you can recreate the aesthetic with digital tools, and not just digital tools, but also analog tools. I mean, you can print to film and rescan and use scanned grain plates and all of these methods that people have developed to replicate the look, and they look great. I mean, they look amazing. You know?
Even the process that Craig does when he shoots digital, then scan it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another way to do this, you know.
And it looks awesome, and it adds a layer of that kind of randomness that you get that people like, and I get that, and I like that randomness too, and it's a way to get that part of it, but after you film. So you get the confidence from filming digitally, but then you get the randomness after you've, after there aren't that many stakes, and you save money because you only have to print what you've edited and not all of your takes that you're not going to use. On the Creator, we did a digital film emulation because we ran out of time. We did want to print to film, but we just ran out of time. But the honest truth is that we did the Pepsi challenge of comparing the film out and Photochem's digital film emulation, which is derived from scans. It's not a digital emulation entirely. It comes from scans of real film, and we looked at them side by side, and they really look, pretty much the same. So,
yeah,
the film, the digital version using their digital suite of tools that can do not just grain, but all the other things, gate weave, and halation, and the slight defocusing, and all the other elements that you get from printing to film and scanning back, you can recreate digitally.
Yeah, those are some beautiful tools.
They look great. Yeah, they look great. And the other thing that I just find ironic, I mean, Gareth also talked about this when he just did the Jurassic movie. They shot on 35, and they had to add digital film emulation on top of it because 35 millimeter film stocks these days are too clean. So, the irony in that, I just think shouldn't be lost on people. And also I think this is another thing that gets lost is unless you're Christopher Nolan and you're developing your film photochemically, which he's one of the only people who still does that. The minute you scan your film in Log Cineon and edit digitally, and then do a digital color graded DI, this is a workflow that's indistinguishable from digital anyway. Yeah. It's just a different acquisition format. But the end result is you still have a log image that you're color grading digitally, the same way that you would color grade a log image from a digital camera. So at the end of the day, it's like, what's the difference, really? Because they're both going through a digital post-process. So to me, that's why it's like the whole thing doesn't really make sense, because the art, the skill of film loading and focus pulling and all of that is like kind of lost. There's very few people who can do it well. And most people these days that I see shooting film, younger people, honestly, they're just using HD video taps anyway, and lighting off of that, framing off of that. So it's like, for all intents and purposes, you're just using this thing as a digital camera. And you just happen to be running film through it. So I just don't really see the point.
It's interesting. It's probably also an ironic thing that in the days of film, they were trying to make the most pristine film, the less noise, the sharper image. They did all the lenses, the sharpest lenses, so you can get all this resolution. And right now they're trying to do completely different, you know,
I know, everyone's trying to
degrade.
yeah, make it look as gritty and grainy and crummy as possible. Yeah. But you can't replicate that look.
Yeah.
Because the film stocks are gone. You know, so that it's like they're chasing something that doesn't that you have to recreate anyway.
It's interesting, like how many different DPs and different approaches. You know, some DPs like to dirty up the image, you know, to make it grainy, distortion, like aberrations, all that kind of stuff, and some trying to make it as clean as possible, you know. And we see the work of these DPs, and you can't tell this or the other one is better, you know. It's just a different approach, you know.
It just goes to show how much of cinematography, but filmmaking in general, it really comes down to taste. You know, it's so much of it is personal taste, and I think people lose sight of that a lot because people get into arguments about cinematography and about cameras and about movies as if there's objective opinions. There's a right and a wrong. I'm right about this. You're wrong. But you can't say that.
Yeah, there is no right or wrong.
Because it's your own taste. It's not even an opinion. It's taste. Because you will feel differently about things. You like different things than other people. And that's okay. We all have different taste. And that's what makes people interesting. You know, as humans, like it's interesting that we like different things, and it's okay that we like different things. And I find it so interesting. People get so worked up about certain things because it's like, what do you care that somebody doesn't like something that you like? Why does it bother you so much? It's like, it's fine. They just don't like the things that you like, or vice versa. You know, it's there's a lot of things out there that go against my taste. James Cameron, I love him. I love his films. He's made many masterpieces, but he has this one thing that he doesn't like grain. And so when he's been doing these 4K restorations of his old films, he's been denoising them. And they don't look good because like some of his older films are grainy because they're shot on grainy film stock. And then the 4K restoration, like he's using these like machine learning tools to denoise Aliens and Terminator and all that. And then they look like smooth, you know, and True Lies. And because he's obsessed with this like sharp, clean aesthetic. And I just disagree.
Interesting.
You know, but what can I do? That's just a taste. Taste disagreement.
I didn't know he was doing this.
That's his taste, and it's just not my taste. I like the grain.
Yeah.
I like the grain in the original movies.
Yeah.
I love the Avatar movies. I like how they look. That's the appropriate look for those movies. But I wish he would leave his older movies alone. But you know, they're his movies, and that's his taste. Yeah. So you know, it is what it is.
Lubetsky and Dickens also don't like grain, so they like pristine.
But it's funny because some of their older films that were shot on older film stocks have that grainy look, and I think they look beautiful because I like a little bit of grain, and I like.
So let's hope they're not gonna go back and denoise it.
I know. Well, they don't have any say in that, thankfully. You know, they're just the cinematographer. They never ask us.
Okay, let's play the game. This or that.
I like games.
Film or digital?
If someone forced me to choose digital.
Daylight or night?
Night.
Static or dynamic shots?
Ooh, I like dynamic shots.
On stage or on location?
On location. Although I like being comfortable, but locations look better.
Cloudy or sunny?
Cloudy.
Scripted or improvised?
Scripted.
Storyboarded or figuring out on the day?
Ooh, I like figuring it out on the day.
Spherical or anamorphic?
Whichever is right for the project.
Wide angles or long lenses?
I prefer longer lenses. I don't really like wide angle lenses.
Natural light or artificial?
Natural light or artificial light that looks natural.
Color or black and white?
Oh, I love black and white. I wish I could shoot more black and white. I'd love to shoot a whole feature in black and white. It's like a dream.
Epic scenes or intimate moments?
There's nothing better than a really powerful, intimate moment. There's nothing more cinematic, I think.
Long takes or quick cuts?
I love a long take.
Tungsten, HMI, or LED?
Honestly, LED. Just more efficient.
Experimental or classic techniques?
I like I'm a classic person.
Fixing on set or fixing on post?
I like to say do it in post, not fix it in post, because it's all about planning. But if you're planning to do it in post, then it's not fixing it in post. It's just proper planning.
Okay. Small crew or big crew?
Small crew.
Light meter or spectrometer?
Neither one.
So you just judge it off the monitor, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of the same for me. I used to use false color and all this thing, and I occasionally can turn it on just to make sure, but usually I prefer to have a really good monitor with true blacks like OLED or OLED, and I judge also of the monitor.
That's exactly what I do.
Because sometimes it may look incorrect on the false color or whatever, but it looks good on the screen. And
exactly. So that's why I don't trust it. On a narrative, I'll have a DIT and on most commercials. So I'll entrust the DIT to tell me and look at the scopes and the false color to tell me if something is overexposed, like a highlight or something. And then if we need to address, I'll come take a look at it. But I don't like looking at that stuff myself. I don't want to be driven by it. I don't want to be beholden to it. I just want to judge the image by the image and the ratios and the look and to paint the light and paint the shadows and paint the overall staging, just the way it looks, and not by any scopes or measurements or anything. I just want to do it by the way that it looks, and not just the way it looks on the monitor, but also just looking at it by eye in front of me and comparing the two.
Well, I had a great conversation with you. Thank you for coming.
Oh,
it was a pleasure.
This was great. I love a game. Thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Great conversation. Thanks
you.
so much for having me.